Hello and welcome to the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel. My name is Pixel and today I have a video containing 12 games running at 1440p on our brand new Sapphire Pulse RX 6700 XT graphics card alongside the AMD Ryzen 7 5800X CPU. Now, one of the things that I personally struggle with when it comes to these videos is deciding what sort of graphical settings to go with for each game, so rather than blindly going for a certain preset, I've instead taken the settings as far as I think the balance between performance and visuals remains intact. As we jump into each game, I'll quickly show the settings used and try to explain my reasoning behind my selection. Also, if there's a game or two that you wish that I'd covered in this video but haven't, then please let me know in the comment section down below, and if I get the opportunity I'll be sure to consider them for future performance videos. This is probably a good time to also mention that all the footage in this video was recorded via AMD Relive, meaning that performance was always a few frames higher when not recording. It's also worth mentioning that I had smart access memory enabled across the entire selection of games. Oh, and finally, I will be leaving timestamps to each game section down in the description below, but with that said, let's get to it. The first game we're going to be taking a look at is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, running at the very high preset. For the most part, I'd say that our performance was sticking between around 75 and 120 frames per second, and I'm pretty sure in the 2 or 3 hours that I played while capturing this footage that we never once dropped below that 60 FPS mark, so yeah, we are off to a good start. Next up, we have Borderlands 3. Here we actually went with most of the settings maxed out, but with material complexity lowered 1 notch down to high, and volumetric fog and screen space reflections knocked down to medium. To be clear, I have dropped these settings purely due to their value in terms of visuals. Their impact on performance is pretty huge, as much as 30 to 40% of our frame rate when maxed out, and yet, honestly, I really struggle to notice the worthwhile difference visually. As you should be able to see by the performance in these clips, our frame rate was solid and honestly the game felt great. I just really struggle to recommend anybody max this one out.
I am brimming.
Cyberpunk 2077, I basically went with the high preset but with a film grain disabled. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is one incredibly heavy game when it comes to its performance profile. Our frame rate was mostly pegged between around 65 and 85, but there were certainly times where we could dip a little below that 60 FPS target. That said, I think that if you're somebody that's rocking a FreeSync compatible monitor, the game should still feel incredibly smooth, and I'm hoping that with a bit of luck, when we finally see those updates that CD Projekt Red have been promising, that things should improve even further.
Why's everyone got it out for me?
You dishonorable bitch!
V, this is important. Judy's always been there for me. Always helped out. I trust her. But she's a Mox, not the latest member of your crew. Try not to forget. So you'll be a good girl, tread lightly, and keep that tongue on a leash.
Relax. Believe it or not, I'm no stranger to tact. In biz or life.
Hey, there you are.
This is V. She's here for that BD role. And V, this is Judy. Best brain dance editor I know.
Enough already. Gonna make me barf.
Hey, Judy.
Compiled your BDF.
What do you think? Will it do?
Still pretty raw, but yeah, ought to do.
Mm-hmm. V needs to get deep inside. That's most important.
So, let's calibrate. Tune it to her. Believe me, I've dealt with worse. Should see the jig street porn we gotta contend with sometimes.
In Dirt 5, I played with everything set to high and native, and performance on the whole was looking very good. At these settings, we were looking at an average frame rate somewhere between around 100 and 120. Now, I did quickly try the game with everything set to ultra high, but honestly, I simply don't believe that the performance impact was anywhere near worth the visual upgrade. When it comes to Doom Eternal, I basically just whacked everything up to Ultra Nightmare and let the game do its thing. Now, as anybody that's played Doom Eternal can tell you, this game is an optimization powerhouse that pumps out stunning visuals with surprising ease. I think the lowest frame rate that I saw in the couple of hours that I spent playing was around 150, and a lot of the time we were well above 200. I'd love to know what deal the developers made with the devil for this one, because honestly, it blows my mind each and every single time that I boot it up.
This be? No man can pass through the gate. It is... This stops nothing. The sacrament of this world to the great Khan Maker will be made, and the energy will be restored once again. As it is written, from the souls of the non-believers. You will not save them from their judgment.
For Horizon Zero Dawn, I basically stuck textures to Ultra and went for high for everything else. At launch, this game got quite a bit of stick for having a lackluster PC port, but now, after a few patches and with the additional power offered by our 6700 XT, I have to admit I found performance to be right about where I'd expect it to be considering the visuals on display. On average, we are looking at around 80 to 100 frames per second, and thankfully I ran into none of the stuttering that many people complained about at launch, so yeah, I was very happy with what I was seeing.
I had the wilds. Precision. Not enough. Must be perfect. Come on, you can make it. Can't let them beat me now.
Win? The outcast cheated! An outcast win the proving? Never!
Metro Exodus I ran at its ultra preset without ray tracing and with Nvidia PhysX disabled. Now, I know that this is a couple of years old at this point, but I still believe that this has got to be one of the very best looking games on the market, and considering that, I do believe that the performance on offer here does seem to mostly make sense. When it comes to averages, it's really hard to say as performance on the whole is extremely variable. I've seen frame rates range from the high 50s to just below 200 in a matter of seconds. Again, this is one of those games which really is going to make the most of a variable refresh rate monitor.
I think we got all of them!
Thanks for your help! Come up here and let's talk!
All right!
For Nioh 2, I basically just maxed out all the available settings. Visually, this is one of those games that, well, kinda looks ugly at the same time as often looking great. Basically, the underlying assets and tech are nothing to write home about, but every now and again, all the flashy effects can collide into something that looks, well, amazing. Performance-wise, Nioh 2 is a bit of a mixed bag. Not only is the frame rate capped to 120 during gameplay and 30 FPS in cutscenes, but it's also prone to FPS drops from time to time. Thankfully though, the 6700 XT does appear to have the power to prevent these drops from reaching the point where they ever really start to get in the way of the gameplay, so things could certainly be a lot worse. Red Dead Redemption 2 has a lot of individual settings to configure. I basically just went with a favored quality preset and then lowered a couple of other specific settings. Again, this is one of those games where we found our frame rate hovering between around 80 and 100, and yeah, the game felt nice and responsive, so no complaints from me.
You alright?
Sure. Thank you. Como Driscoll. He ain't here. You set us up. Come here!
What?
You set us up.
No, I didn't.
You did. Como Driscoll ain't here!
He was here, I swear! I mean, if I was setting you up, I wouldn't have saved your life.
It's a good point, Arthur.
All right, then, go on. Get out of here.
Hey?
I won't kill you.
No, I didn't set you up.
Get lost.
Shit, lost.
I'm letting you run away. Now go on. Get out of here.
That's as good as killing me. Out there, without you, Como just was gonna lose his mind about this.
So?
So I'm one of you now.
Give me a break.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider is one of those games that for some reason I feel the need to test whenever I install a new graphics card. For this footage, I basically just went for the highest preset and jumped in. Now, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a few years old at this point, but I honestly feel like this is one of those games that a lot of people have been sleeping on when it comes to just how good it looks. I can't quite put my finger on what it is I like about it so much, but I think it's something to do with that balance between graphical realism and that traditional gamey look. Either way, I think this game looks great and performance is pretty solid, so yeah, here it is.
damaged, perhaps intentionally.
Why would Trinity sabotage this? They usually just destroy everything.
And no, I think the damage is older. But who would have tampered with it?
Laura! You gotta get out of here. Laura!
I have to get this.
Come on! Move! Move! Hurry! Come on!
Okay, this should work. All right.
This is Commander Rourke. I want the site secured ASAP. When Dr. Dominguez arrives, we all go in together.
For The Witcher 3, I basically just maxed everything out barring her works which I left disabled. The reason that I've included The Witcher 3 is simply because whenever we release a new graphics card we always get a bunch of people asking for us to test it, and so here it is. At these settings we spend most of our time between around 100 and 120 frames per second, and visually the game still holds up. Sure, the character models and animations may feel a little bit dated at this point, but overall this game is still very beautiful.
Skulls he stole. My skulls. Ought to dig up his own.
There she is. Right on cue. Anyone there? You can come out. It's safe now.
A Witcher.
What happened?
The last game we're going to be taking a look at today is World War Z, running maxed out on the Vulkan API. Whilst I know that this is not exactly one of those games that everybody likes to see in a video like this, I still include it because of its spectacle. World War Z, kinda like Doom Eternal, is one of those games that really has no right to perform quite as well as what it does, and whilst not the most visually stunning game out there, I can't help but feel impressed by what I see from a technical perspective, so I'll continue to keep including it.
Anybody else? I'll take what I can get. Reloading! Come to mama. There's enough for everybody!
Right, so with all 12 games out of the way, I just want to quickly remind you all to slap that subscribe button if you've not done already, and if you like this video then be sure to like this video. If you've got any questions, suggestions or feedback, please do feel free to let us know in the comment section down below. Once again, if you've got any suggestions for games that we should cover in future, then please let me know and I will see what I can do. With all that said, from myself and everybody here at the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye bye.